Results rolling in overnight from Georgia's primary elections. After polling sites were plagued with problems, voters waited hours in hot temperatures to comply with social distancing guidelines. Problems with voting machines, though, were also reported.
It was just a mess for the most part, and state election officials are blaming inexperienced election workers and issues with coronavirus safety measures. Georgia's Secretary of State now calling for, of course, an investigation to figure out why there were such gigantic delays, Ainsley.
Yeah, a winner has yet to be declared in the Democratic race to face GOP incumbent Senator David Perdue. Jon Ossoff is in the lead with more than 48% of the vote. Joe Biden picked up wins in both Georgia and West Virginia, bringing his delegate total to 2,136. Lindsey Graham getting the Republican nomination in the great state of South Carolina. Let's bring in Georgia GOP Congressman Doug Collins, House Judiciary Committee member and U.S. Senate candidate in Georgia. Good morning to you.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Hope y'all are well.
Good morning. We're doing great. Thank you. Got a call from my dad last night. He had just left his precinct. They combined 5 precincts in his town in South Carolina, all into my old high school. Dad said he waited 3 hours, 15 minutes. People were irate. People were there at the polls until 10 p.m. last night, he said. He did meet a lot of nice people in line, he said, and had some great conversations. But this happened in Georgia as well. Y'all got those new voting machines, those touchscreen machines. But people were complaining because they were in line for 3 hours plus there, too. The problem is, the worry is November 3rd. What do you say about it?
Well, again, what we're seeing again in Georgia is what we've seen in previous elections. It's, again, counties are responsibility for putting up and setting up their elections as it goes, and putting enough voting machines, having enough trained workers, and to get that done. It's concerning to me that it seems like, especially in our metro areas, we seem to have the same problems over and over again. I voted on these machines early. I did it in person early voting. The touchscreens work. We're used to touchscreens in Georgia, and now it just has a paper ballot component to it. I think what we've got to do is we've got to make sure that we're doing better training. We're doing better locations, and remembering that the people like to come out and vote. People do, like your dad, who like to come out and actually vote in person. It's a part of our pride as Americans to be a part of elections, but we've just got to do better planning and better training. And it seems like we always in Georgia seem to come up with the same counties in the same areas that have same problems no matter what the machines are.
I just don't know who's going to take a responsibility and fix it. Stacey Abrams still claiming she won in Georgia, so we'll have to see in the governor's election. All right, let's switch gears and talk about another area of your expertise, and that is the whole Russia investigation. The Attorney General recused himself, Sessions, then in comes Rod Rosenstein. We know that Rod Rosenstein was basically a crossing guard for the Mueller report, and now we have AG Barr in there, and he's having a chance to really evaluate what was happening. Here's what he said was going on with the FBI leading up to the 2016 election.
Before the election, I think we're concerned about the motive force behind the very aggressive investigation that was launched into the Trump campaign with a very thin, slender read as a basis for it. It seemed that the Bureau was sort of spring-loaded at the end of July to drive in there and investigate a campaign after the election, even though they were closing down. For some reason, they went right back at it. It was becoming painfully obvious, or should have been obvious to anyone, that there was nothing there.
So it's easy for a politician to say, that's my president, or that's the president I don't want, and they take sides. When an AG goes in there and says legally, what the hell is going on here? What are you getting from that?
Well, what I'm getting is that we were right in this, Brian. I mean, look, we've been talking about this for a long time. They had this, you said Rosenstein being a crossing guard. Rosenstein was complicit. I mean, he actually signed these things without, as he admitted, probably didn't read them and didn't go into them. We see, as what Attorney General Barr just said, is this was a coordinated effort before the campaign to get Donald Trump because they didn't like him. And when he became the candidate and the presumptive nominee before the election, when he was the nominee, they continued the process, and they were just doing everything they could to derail the candidacy, and then afterwards they said, well, we couldn't influence the election, so now we're going to disrupt his presidency. And Comey and Strzok and McCabe and all these, Durham, I'm looking forward to seeing what he comes out with, because I do believe people need to be held accountable, because if they're not held accountable, then what keeps future people who have a political agenda at DOJ or FBI from doing this to somebody else, or to you or to me?
Yeah, that's the problem with secret courts. They're secret. All right, 10 o'clock this morning, you, Congressman, will be there at the House Judiciary Committee. George Floyd's brother is set to testify. When you look at the official point of view of the Democrats, they've got some ideas about police reform. None of them involve defunding the police, and I would imagine the Republicans feel the same way.
Yeah, exactly. Defunding the police is just, it's not even a rational idea. It's an idea that's designed to stoke fears and to stoke the passions of an agenda that is not coordinated or even responsive to the American needs. What we need to have today, though, and what's really disturbing to me is that we have worked together before to make sure that criminal justice reform, First Step Act, my bill, and others that we put forward that the president took in, was a combined effort between Democrats and Republicans. And I want to see that happen here, and I want to see us be able to work with the White House and the Senate and the House to actually come up with the reforms, and also to help that we make our police forces stronger. As a son of a state trooper, I believe our law enforcement needs to be stronger, and we don't need the bad apples out there and the bad actors who do criminal acts like they did in the George Floyd case to be allowed to stay on police forces. We need to make sure that our police have what they need, but we also need to make sure that they're held accountable as well.
Congressman, we wish you all the best today in that hearing. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Good to be with y'all. Take care.
You're welcome.